Kia ora whānau, my name is Dan Carter and I'm your As You Were Club Chairman. It's that time of month again where we host our members Clubroom Session. Now with New Zealand in various stages of lockdown, we decided to do this month's Clubroom Session virtually with a Q&A session with one and only All Black captain Sam Cane, who'll be joined and actually emceeing the event, As You Were member Andrew Mulligan. As You Were Clubroom Session number 4. I'm normally running these Clubroom Sessions MC, but I do such a horrific job that I thought it was only obvious to get the great Mully on board. Before I introduce Sammy Cane, which shouldn't need much of an introduction, Mully, can you just open that little box?
Yes.
Yeah, please. Yeah, fire into that, buddy.
Fire into that. Sam Hickey just dropped us off at the door. It says, thanks for getting involved tonight, Miles. Love your work as you were. Appreciate that. And it's oh, look at that. Yes. Yes, boy.
Yes, there it is.
Yes, boy. Oh, it's blurring out a little bit. Sorry with my background. But it's the As You Were, I guess, what do you call that? Like a monogram?
It's the club captain. It's the club captain blazer. Yeah. So each month we like to get one of our members to be our club captain. Sammy Cane, welcome, brother. I know you know a lot about being a club captain, as you were a club captain for many years of the All Black Clubroom Sessions. So, mate, thanks a lot for your time tonight.
Cheers, Des. Good to be on. I was pretty lucky. I got to learn from one of the greats. Conrad Smith was club captain pretty much throughout my early stages of All Black careers, and I always loved the club rooms when you and him were running the cutter from up the front.
Yeah, what did that involve? What is this secret All Black society that us mere mortals aren't allowed to know about? Is it a secret code?
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to share more, but I'm breaking the rule. It was an amazing incentive started by the great Wayne Smith, actually. But obviously, being an All Black, living in this pressured situation of representing your country, playing for the All Blacks, we felt like we just needed to almost bring yourself back to your roots. So every Tuesday night we had Clubroom Sessions where everyone would wear their amateur club jersey or their high school jersey, and we'd just go around and we'd have a club captain, we'd have meat raffles, we'd share stories about one another's amateur clubs. It was just a great sort of bonding session to just unwind, take your mind off footy, remember where you came from and connect.
That must be so important, Sam, right now for those guys. You're obviously going to join them later on, maybe in a few weeks, maybe in a month or so. To have that when they've got such a long stretch away, to have that little piece of social interactions that's not just footy.
Yeah, look, every single year the feedback is overwhelming that club rooms is one of the boys' favourite time of the week. Tuesday's typically a big training day, lots on, and then to know that at the end of Tuesday you can slip on your club jersey, head up into the team room, or sometimes when we're in New Zealand we try and head away to an actual rugby club, just that cool vibe that a rugby club can only give off. And like Desi said, just have a laugh. Often it's involved you're sort of taking the piss out of one another. We're trying to find some jokes. Always a good hit is if we can manage to get some of the younger boys to perform a skit. Always gets a good laugh. So yeah, a few beers and knowing that we've got the day off Wednesday. To tell you what, when you're involved in the club rooms committee and the boys keep saying how important it is to their week and how much they love it, it becomes a bit of pressure. It's pretty much as soon as you finish that Tuesday, you think, oh, that's good to have that done. And a couple of days later, you're already planning for the session ahead the next week. But it's good fun.
So,
good fun.
Dan, do you remember what you had to do if you were like, when did you debut? Like 2003? Do you remember what you had to do? Was it even back then?
Oh no, geez, 2003. No, it started, I want to say 2010. But 2003 was, it was back when the game was professional, but there was still a lot of amateur, so I was around court sessions, initiations, back of the bus. I got severely punished by the back seat, Justin Marshall.
I was going to say that's reeked of Justin Marshall.
I took my punishment and earned my respect as I slowly worked my way towards the back of the bus.
Nice. And for you, Sam, I heard that you've done Toastmasters before, and that you can do the Any Given Sunday Al Pacino speech. Is that true?
Oh, I don't know if I could pull it off now.
No, I don't expect you to do it now. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. Even if I could, I don't think I'd do it. But yeah, we had a Toastmasters course, and it was good actually. But every week we had to come up with a speech. It's for about 5 or 6 weeks, and every week you had to come up with a new speech. Then the experts who were there hosting, they would sort of critique and tell you what you did well and what you could improve on. All right. Then it got to the last week, and man, trying to come up with a different speech each week was getting a bit tough. So I just Googled, greatest speeches of all time. And then Al Pacino's Any Given Sunday speech came up. I thought, I'll actually flip it on its head, and I'll come out and reenact that scene. And then I'll carry on and talk about it pretty much as the experts have been saying to us each week, and critique and say why it's one of the great speeches. Just as it happened, it might have been 2013. The Chiefs, it was during the Chiefs season, we won the title that year, luckily, and then obviously on the piss for a couple of days after, and I got up and belted it out a few times, and then some of the boys would try and get me to do it the years following, but can remember some of it, but I'd need a refresher if I was going to do it again.
No, that's bloody good. So the theme of this one, Dan, and was adversity, because we're all having to deal with all our own little challenges at the moment. Some are big, some are thankfully a little bit smaller. A lot of people in a lot of strife at the moment, especially people in the 09. So having to talk about how you deal with adversity at the top level is probably a good place to start with. I'll start with you, Dan, and I'll move to you, Sam, because you both have had major injuries, which is part and parcel of the game, unfortunately. For you, Dan, you did your groin at just going into the peak of the Rugby World Cup, and I read your book and I've seen the movie, the doco, and just going over it again, I know is probably helpful for a lot of people, because you're very much the face of the All Blacks for a long time, and then you are now crippled and out of the Rugby World Cup. Like, how do you just deal with that in your own private time, away from having to deal with everything else?
Yeah, it's probably one of the most challenging things that I went through during my career. I mean, injuries are always tough to deal with, but I was always a firm believer of things happen for the reason. I remember back in 2009, I ruptured my Achilles tendon over in France, and there was some fear whether I'd return back to the standard of being able to play at the level that I was happy with. But I felt like that injury was my body telling me that I was just playing too much rugby and needed a rest. So I kind of accepted that and did all the rehab and returned. But in 2011, that was one of those moments where it just didn't make any sense at all. These injuries are supposed to happen for a reason, but this one didn't. I've been vice captain of the All Blacks for about 3 years, sitting behind the great Richie McCaw. Whenever he didn't play a game, I didn't play a game for some reason, so I'd never actually captained the side, but got named to be captain that Friday morning. Was proud as punch, did the captain's press conference, rang Dad. He was absolutely stoked for me, and then I got to take the captain's run training, which is a pretty light-hearted training that we do day before the game. Played a bit of touch, and then I thought I'll just have a few kicks at goal, which I do. I mean, I've kicked millions of kicks throughout my lifespan, and on my last kick, as I approached the ball, I kicked the ball, and with the impact, I dropped to the floor. Apparently, I squealed like a pig, as Steve Hansen often reminds me. So much so that he thought that I was having a laugh. He thought that I was playing a joke on Graham Henry, because he gets pretty anxious leading into games. But I wasn't. I knew that there was a really serious injury, and in my mind, that was going to be my last World Cup. It was my third World Cup, 2011. The previous two had been unsuccessful, and then all of a sudden I was in my prime. I was 29 years old. Rugby World Cup in New Zealand. I thought that, it was in a selfish way, sort of my time to shine on the biggest stage and achieve something I hadn't been able to achieve before at World Cup level. And then all of a sudden, it's taken away from you, your goals, your dreams, and it's really hard to deal with. I remember going to the hospital, having the scan, but I knew in my mind that my World Cup was over. I was in the back of the car with Deb Robinson, who was the doctor, and I didn't want to ask her, but I did. I was like, "Is my World Cup over?" And even though I knew, she's like, "Yeah, it is." And I went back to my hotel room, and I was just in all sorts. I was in tears. People were coming, teammates, coaches were coming just to I don't know, just kind of stand. It was really weird. Like there was just no conversation. Like they wanted to say something, but they just couldn't. And I couldn't really speak to them either. But what happened going through that process, I had a really good learning. And even looking back now, some of the things that I learned going through that process of having such a major setback like that were some huge learnings for me. One of them being, it's actually okay to grieve, to feel like shit, to understand that you're going to have setbacks. Life isn't going to be perfect. So I wanted to use that as ammo to come back stronger. So I think it's important that you go through a grieving process. And whenever I had injuries, I'd always give myself 24 hours to grieve,
but you feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah, you do, and I think that's okay, but there's got to be a time that you snap out of it, and that's why I use that 24-hour period to be upset. Unfortunately, my wife takes the brunt of most of my frustration, and then after that 24 hours, I really change my focus, really try and concentrate on positivity, and I see some people that have major setbacks and they bounce back straight away, almost in my mind too early, and it later catches up on them. So important to grieve, but then reshift your focus. And then after I reshifted my focus, I was like, okay, well, what did I set out to be? In 2003, when I played my first All Black game, from that moment, I wanted to be an All Black great. Well, in a situation like this, where I've been playing for 7-8 years, what does an All Black great do? He backs up, he fronts up, he used that ammo to come back stronger. So I re-signed with the rugby union for another 4 years to give another World Cup a crack. And I worked extremely hard, but then I had some real focus and vision. I knew exactly what it was that was driving me when I got out of bed each day, and it was to try and bounce back from such a serious injury. And then I guess looking back now of what I was able to achieve in 2015 and even 2012 was one of my better years. To be able to bounce back from such a serious injury is, it really has, given me, I guess the tools to help me, deal with major setbacks like that. That's awesome. I remember the Herald said that you were done as well. And they wrote, I think it was Chris Ritchie wrote a column that you're done, and then you had the 2015 World Cup, and that was amazing. I've still hung on to that as an All Blacks fan. I was like, why are you writing this guy off? There's a reason why he's doing 4 World Cups. It was awesome. So that's a great lesson for you, Sam, as well. You're like your second major injury now, and you must be getting a little bit frustrated, but you also, I guess, like Dan said, the second time around, you don't want to rush things. COVID's been a real bitch when it's come into timings and working through travel requirements and all that kind of stuff. So how are you dealing with the injury a second time around that's impacted a year of your life, of your playing career?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a bugger, to be fair. Look, I'd had a pretty good injury run up until I hurt my neck and I hadn't had a surgery, and then I've had 2 major surgeries in the space of 3 years, and I literally am viewing it as it's just a bit of a rough spot, and at the end of the day, I try not to worry about things that are out of my control, and the nature of these injuries, they're out of my control. So there's no point worrying about the why, and I wish I'd done anything different, because there's nothing that I could have done. All I can sort of focus and worry about at the moment has been the rehab process. And to be honest, once it was diagnosed and I tore my pec, but I ended up getting a full shoulder reconstruction. A lot of things sort of made sense as to why I needed a full shoulder reconstruction. And it's funny, you think back to all these things that have happened over the last couple of years where I've had trouble with my shoulder, and where I knew I couldn't throw a tennis ball over arm because it felt like my shoulder was going to fall out. But because it never really affected how I played rugby, I didn't think too much of it. Your body, it's amazing. It compensates the muscles around, start learning how to compensate and protect it, and you just subconsciously avoid things that hurt. So I'm pretty sure I actually buggered my shoulder 2 tests before I hurt my neck, and I was struggling with it then, but obviously when I hurt my neck, didn't have to use my shoulder, so I forgot about it. And it was just the ticking time bomb pretty much since then. So this year hasn't quite gone to plan. Really enjoyed last year, first year as All Blacks skipper. The challenge of that, learned so much last year around what the role demands and what's required to help the team perform at where it wants to be each week and get better. And then this year I was really looking forward to putting a lot of those things into practice, and helping the team grow and my leadership grow as well. But wasn't to be, so I've sort of taken a step back and say, how can I lead, or what can I do to help? And to be honest, it's the best thing I can do is just come back in awesome nick, in the best shape I can, and give myself every chance of playing well and getting back on the footy field. So it makes my focus pretty easy. It's about training and being the ultimate professional and taking care of my body and trying to get back to that level.
You touched on something right at the start there, Sammy, is controlling your mind, like controlling the things you can control, because your mind plays some pretty wicked games. And through that period, for me, probably 2013, 14, where I was having lots of injuries, I started doubting myself. I had a lot of fear around sort of maybe I should retire, maybe it's my body telling me something, a whole lot of things, or what if I don't return the player that I was? All these things, your mind just goes into these really negative things, and things you can't control, and you just don't have any certainty over what's going to happen in that future. And we're really lucky to have incredible people working around us. I spend a lot of time with Gilbert Anoka, also Kerry Evans, is a forensic psychologist, and they would really work hard on just focusing on things you can control, controlling your mind, and that is huge. Not only in rugby context when you have setbacks, but in everyday life as well. There's these little mind games that you play with yourself all the time, and the more that you can control those and just focus on things that you can control, it really does feed your energy, because when you go into a downward spiral of focusing on these negative thoughts or things you can't control, it just burns your energy, and it's just not good for anyone.
It's effectively different. You have conversations with yourself every day, and anyone who says they doesn't is lying. There's always these little conversations you have in your head around, controlling your pretty much your thoughts. Like, what am I thinking? You should do this. You should do that. Should I do this? And like you say, controlling those and being deliberate with your thoughts, and even forcing yourself to sometimes believe things that you don't actually believe helps. But what I know has helped me massively through the last few years with injuries has been just pretty much like focusing on the next week, and I'm like going to get a solid week of training, and I'm going to do everything I need just for this next week, and I'm going to finish the week in a better spot than I was when I started it, and then get through that week and reset and go again.
Let's talk about being being the captain, but then being that first time All Black, when you first came into that environment, you're just a young whippersnapper. You're going for that number 7 jersey. There's a legend in it already. What was it like going into an All Blacks environment where Dan's already there? And what's it like bringing you guys in now? You're a senior player, you're the captain, and seeing how that transformation takes from a newbie to somebody who hopefully they want to hang around season after season. What's that like as a newbie for you when you were there?
Like I was only 20 years old and didn't see it coming one bit. Sort of took me by surprise, and then it's probably a good thing. Things just happened really quickly. There was two injuries in the space of pretty much the 2 first games of the series. So just purely out of last man standing, I got a chance to play 40 minutes in my debut, and ended up having a pretty good first 40 minutes. So got to start the next test, and it was good to get involved in a test and get so many minutes so early on in my career, and sort of help my self-confidence say, oh shit, I can actually handle it at this level. But a sort of confirmation that you're good enough. And then look, at the time, I think the environment was awesome to come into. There was still like that little bit of a couple of the old school sort of fellas, Hori, a few of those boys who it was still a little bit about earning your stripes and earning respect, which I had no issue with whatsoever. I'd grown up a rugby nerd, read the rugby books and knew what it was about. So I actually really enjoy that part of teams, and having to earn your respect through how you train and conduct yourself, and ultimately how you play. And then as years go by, new guys have their chance to sort of earn your respect. But the environment there still is that sense of it today. There is that, but a lot of it is angled around, we want new guys to be able to come in and feel comfortable and be themselves, and ultimately we hope to get the best out of them on and off the field because of that. I think it's still a fine line between you don't want to go too far one way and too far, and let guys come in and feel comfortable straight away. There's something good about a little sense of being uncomfortable and being on edge, and you are in the All Blacks, and we do expect high standards here. So it's about trying to find that balance, that sweet spot, and a lot of it depends on the individuals, but ultimately it does come back to the leaders and the senior players who drive standards and are responsible for what's accepted and what's not.
With a change of coaching, does a change in not culture, but does a change in like how you do things? Are there things tweaked when, say, Ian Foster comes in, Steve Hansen, his regime's over? Foster, he progresses, but he's got his own style, and his leadership group might be similar to what was there. But does anything change in that respect?
I think that's one of the beauties about having Fozzie take over as head coach, is that he'd had that 10 years with Steve, so he'd had all that experience and knowledge around what had worked so well for the All Blacks for so long. But then he also had a few other ideas that he could come and bring in and implement. So it wasn't about completely reinventing the wheel, because obviously the All Blacks had been going pretty good for a long time. So it's about keeping a lot of those awesome things that we do, but then 100% needs to make a few tweaks here and there, a few subtle changes, and keep things fresh, because we can't expect to roll out the same carpet and get better and different results. So a few tweaks, and they're very different individuals, Steve and Fozzie. So they're both with Steve on edge pretty much all the time. You talk to him, you don't know which angle he's coming at. Fozzie can have a little bit more of a laugh with you. He's a little bit more relaxed, but he's got a serious edge too, and he's been going well. And last year was difficult to make too many changes because of the nature of the games. We had 6 tests in 7 weeks, and with a whole new coaching staff. And I think this year you started to see the way the All Blacks play, and the growth in firstly the management and the coaches who are leading the players, but also the players through just more time together.
Because how does that work? I mean, you've seen professional teams now, like the Warriors are just, last year they did it a little bit tougher than they did it this year because they didn't have their families and they were just swept away to Australia and kept there. For you now, this tour that the boys are on, you'll be joining later on, fingers crossed, hopefully everything goes to plan. Like your family, like everyone's locked in Auckland at the moment with their families, but then you guys are away from your partners, your wives, your family for a long time. It's almost like an old school Northern Hemisphere tour. You sit on a boat and you're away for 4 months.
Yeah, look, it's certainly unique. And I think, to be honest, there's probably a couple of reservations from a few guys around the length of time that we were going away, 14 weeks. I think for some of the young single lads with no one at home to answer to,
on the Gold Coast,
they were pretty keen to get going and hang out with the boys for 3 months. But I can sympathise for the ones with young families at home. But at the end of the day, I think everyone to a man realises that at the end of the day they're living their dream. They're representing our country. They're representing the All Blacks. And when they're a young fella, they would have sort of crawled over broken glass to have the opportunity to pull on that All Blacks jersey. So it's just embracing that this is something different. Look, the world at the moment with COVID, everything's different, and we've got to change and adjust. And what we used to isn't normal anymore. So they're just trying to take a positive attitude. It's a tour like no other in the professional era, but with that comes different challenges. And if we want to get back to number one in the world, it's doing it on the world stage against the best teams in the world, and that this tour presents those opportunities.
I just love the fact, as a fan, just seeing everyone accept that these boys are staying behind because they have family to take care of and they have partners, they're giving birth, and everyone accepts that. That's a real nice change to see in the All Blacks fans. They're not like, oh bloody hell, like you say, walk over broken glass. To be an All Black, there is an understanding there, which is pretty cool to see. Right, let's get some questions. Liam asks, hey lads, I'm going to do these chronologically, so thank you for your questions. Lads, does knowing the fans are missing you when you're out injured provide you a sense of comfort and support, or does that territory come with more stress and or pressure? I'll start, Dan, you can answer that one, if that's all right.
Just repeat that, Molly.
No, the expectations of knowing the fans are missing you because you're out injured, is that a sense of comfort and support knowing that, or is it more stressful and pressure because they want to see you back and you get in the comments, oh, when are you back, Dan? When are you coming back?
It's more the other way when the guy you're competing with position for is having a blinder each week and you're like, I got to get back there, which happened on many occasions. But no, like, what you need to do, and we absolutely love the supporters and how much they care, especially in New Zealand. But at the same time, you really just need to focus on what you need to focus. I mean, it's obviously great if a fan thinks that they need you back in the squad for whatever reason, but that's not going to be the source that gives you the energy to return. It's about what you want to achieve personally, and also just being there for your teammates. Like I always found bad when I was injured because I felt like I was letting the team down because I wasn't able to be there. But at the same time, and Sam's already talked about it, the best thing you can do when you're injured is actually just take some time to yourself to come back even stronger and just do the work that you can. So, I mean, if there's opportunities to help around the team, then do that. And I'm sure Sam's still communicating with Fozzie and the coaches and things that he sees, and also around the leadership group, which is awesome. I had that similar experience the end of 2011 World Cup when I was injured and I was grieving, but I put on a brave face and I go out there and go to the team meetings and help the new 10s coming through. And we went through a few back in 2011, but just sort of being there and guiding them, and that's what was driving me. I didn't once, even though there were a few people saying, we might not be able to win the World Cup, with certain players injured, it's just not something you really read too much into. You know that the team's capable with or without you. It's one player in an environment like that is not going to make a huge difference if the team is firing. So it's always nice having that support, but it's not what that's driving you to return.
Dan asks, have you got a daily, weekly practice to help you keep your mental state in check, mindfulness, like a certain habit that's non-negotiable? Like Sam, I'll go with you, like Gilbert and Oka is what Dan referred to. I'm sure he's still around the team at the moment at the squad, is he? Does he get you going?
Yeah, Gilbert's still going strong, and his role is predominantly that mental sort of mental strength, performance under pressure. He takes a big lead role in the leadership group and also helping lead the coaches in different areas, giving them feedback and whatnot. So, but me personally, I don't have something that's non-negotiable for me each day, but I am really conscious about a balance and switching off. And I'm also someone who's quite routine, so I like to try and develop good habits and keep them. So once I find something that I think works for me and makes a difference, then it's about sticking with that and making, until it becomes habitual almost. And I think once you get to that stage, it sort of takes the decision making out of all the things that you should or shouldn't do, because it just becomes part of who you are and what you do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Now, Ed wants to know he's an observation. So good to see Quade Cooper come back and slot that goal. He's come back from adversity, which tonight's theme has started under. He was under pressure from all sorts of sections of not just Aussie rugby, but always world rugby. There's a real lightning rod for New Zealand fans there for a moment. He says he can't help but admire the guy for bouncing back. And he made that comment, Dan, I don't know if you saw it after the game. Rugby's such a small part of who he is now, and that probably helped him being brought back into that environment and having to deal with that expectation, that pressure, that kick. That pressure.
Oh, it was great to see, actually. He was just so calm and clear in the game. It was like he was zen-like. He was just in full control, and I think that goes to show a sign of someone who's really worked hard on their mental well-being and worked out what's important in life. And he's came onto the scene at a really young, early age, such an exciting player, full of talent, but didn't always perform at the highest level consistently, and was critiqued of that on many occasions. Has gone away, really worked hard on himself as a person, and just come back even stronger. So to see a comeback like that it was really pleasing to see for him, and just to see the space that he's in right now. I feel like he's almost sat in one of as you were co-founder Noah Hickey's two choice seminars, where he's just got amazing control of his mind, and he's basically always got two decisions to make, and he's making the right one. He's not taking any shortcuts. He's put rugby and everything into context and the larger picture of his life, and he's just seems a lot at ease and just going out there and enjoying it and doing what he loves, which we're just so lucky to be doing. When times are tough, when we're under pressure, when we're having shit days, we often just go back and go, how lucky are we to be doing what we love, what we love to do as kids. I was forever grateful to be in that position, and that's why I wanted to drag my career out as long as I possibly could, because I'd wake up every morning just so grateful that I was able to do what I love so much on a daily basis. So it's awesome to see Quade sort of really found that in himself at the moment.
Even he asks Sam, talking about dealing with physical injuries and having to deal with the emotional state of that. And to paraphrase his question, how are you as an All Black deal with emotional, I guess, not trauma, but injuries, and how you deal with your personal life and how you deal with those situations, and how the clarity comes with having the role as being an All Black, but then having that mindset to make sure that everything's okay at home, and that helps you be the better player that you can be. Do you have that with Gilbert and Oka and the like?
Sorry, Miles, I don't really understand the question.
I think it's more like, how do you deal with the physical pain, and where do you put that with the emotional harm that comes with it, dealing with the emotions of being grieving and that kind of aspect, and making sure it's not like a sad sack at home and dealing with that, I guess.
Look, to be honest, the physical stuff's probably a little bit easier. That, like, at the start, it's definitely the emotional stuff that's hard to deal with. A lot of it comes back to the sort of self-talk, and you remind yourself that, like, well, I'm always someone who's pretty sort of glass half full, and will try and look for the good in most things. So, look, even when I hurt my neck, for example, everyone was saying that's such bad luck, it's just to clean out, but instead of me feeling sorry for myself and saying, yeah, that was bad luck, that sucks, why did it have to happen to me? It was pretty easy to flip it on its head and say, man, I'm so lucky that I didn't end up in a wheelchair. I'm so lucky that I can stand up, and I'll continue to live a good life, and even better, I'm going to have the chance to get back and play rugby. So whatever the emotional or the trauma or the injury is, whatever's tough, really, it's about for me, it helps putting it in perspective really quickly. And it could pretty much always be worse. Like, there's a lot of, I suppose it's similar to what Desi was just saying around being grateful and thankful for what you get to do. You can also, it's pretty much saying the same thing, like it could always be slightly worse off, and all of a sudden you feel a little bit better about yourself. And I just from the things like that, I know that it's about just taking a step forward and getting through that day, and doing things that do make you feel good and better, and know that you'll be better off for having done them, even if they are small things.
Nice. Nick, he's asked, well, for Dan and I, but more so Dan, he's just had his second child 5 days ago. Wants to know how you, Dan, maintained a routine around exercise and work when there's so much else going on, and your key tips to maintaining professionalism while going through that period. I know, for one, it was out the door. It was out the window. It was just easier just to be a tired sack of shit. For you, though,
Mate,
three kids.
The reason there's that saying dad bod, and I can understand that. The lucky thing for me with my first 2 children, I was being paid to play, so I had to go to work. But then when that's all finished, and you're doing it, for your own health, that's when it becomes a bit more challenging, even more so during lockdown, when you're dealing with the triple threat of newborn, toddler, and homeschooling 4 young boys. I'm lucky enough that the older boys love sport, so I'm often down kicking goals, playing soccer, all sorts of sport with them, so that keeps me fit. But it is honestly about just putting it in the schedule, putting it in the diary. Like, if I go, I'll do it tomorrow, I won't. I'll do it sometime this week. And I've almost taken that having structure that I had, and when I was playing. So every Sunday I used to write my week plan. I was so strident on every single day of the week. So I wanted to get to the end of the week, and I wanted to earn my beer. So I needed to achieve things every single day, and often I was enjoying, my beer because I'd done everything throughout the week, and it's no different when I finish playing. So every Sunday I plan my week out and work out the things that I want to achieve within, the balance of the family as well. But you just got to get it in there. You just got to do it. You feel so much better afterwards. But I feel you, man. 5 days old. It gets easier.
You'll miss the lockdown. I tell you what, you'll come out to be 2022. Yeah, I'll put it that way. Hey, I think that's what it'll be like for you, Nick. Congratulations too. We'll just wrap it up with a quick fire questions. Dan wants to know, how did you mentally prepare for your first game back after injury? Does it play on your mind at all? Quickly, Sam, for you, coming back from that neck injury, did you think to yourself, oh shit, did you have any doubt?
Yeah, it certainly plays on your mind, but like anything, you take confidence from the work that you put in. Like, it's not like you sort of just go from being cleared by the surgeon, the medical staff one day to playing the next. There's so many gradual baby steps along the way, and each one's like a little mental hurdle that you need to overcome each time. It's like, I've been in a neck brace for 3 months. How am I supposed to, the first time was like on your knees and fall to your side like you pretend you've been tackled. It's, that's silly, and you're sitting there on your knees like, oh, am I going to be able to do this? So all these little hurdles, and right up to the point that you're out there making live tackles at training, one-on-one with your mates. And then when you go into a game, a lot of that self-talk, like technically, who are you to say that you're not medically not ready when you've got to put your trust in the experts who've told you you're 100%, you're good to go. And then trust the work that you've put in. And also, whenever I've come back from an injury, whether it's minor or a major, there's always been about, like, when you get out on the field, do not hold back anything. You just got to absolutely rip in, because you can't have that playing in the back of your mind. Ultimately, you're not going to play well, but you probably give yourself more chance of doing something again. So they're all just little mental hurdles, and once you overcome one, it's almost like a weight off your shoulders, and you feel like you're back.
I don't know if you. Sorry, Dan, you go. Yep.
And I was just took me back to a time I'll never forget, that I was at the back of my run up about to kick my first goal at training after rupturing my adductor muscle, and I couldn't do it. Like I ever since I was a kid, I was kicking goals, and then all of a sudden I was at the back of my run up, and I was traumatized by the event that happened in 2011, and I couldn't kick a goal. And so I sat there for about sort of 2 minutes going, come on, you got to do it. So I ran in, I kicked, the ball rolled about 15 meters in front of me, and I just had to get over that hurdle. The next one maybe went 20 meters, and just those small little steps, but it can be challenging, at times. But you just got to, small steps, and eventually, you work your way back. Your body's a credible thing, and it always bounces back. And we've talked a lot tonight about the body's probably the easiest part. It's the mental side and controlling the mind that proves to be the challenging things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, awesome work, guys. I think we can probably leave it there if that's all right with you guys. So you want to go on for a little bit, or the questions sort of dried up a little bit. Alon, another new dad, just wants to know, what's your best piece of parenting advice, Dan? Because he's a new dad himself. For me personally, I read something online that said, when you walk through the door, but you've got 4 kids, but when you walk through the door, if you can give them 10 minutes of your devoted attention, like you don't always are able to do it, but you give them 10 minutes straight away, they'll probably leave you alone for the next hour. And that actually worked. I have to say that actually worked.
Yeah, that's actually Fozzie in Foster gave me a bit of advice. So when you come home, what he used to do is he just kind of would finish on his phone, everything he needed to, turn his phone off. So when he walked in that door, he was just present with the children. So I've tried that on many occasions. I laugh because this afternoon, and I go back to just your children, they follow and understand everything. So you're a huge role model for them, and they follow your actions. And we're having a game of soccer. It was Fox and Marco versus me, and it was quite competitive. It was all tied up with 30 seconds to go, and he got past me. And I grabbed his shirt. I cheated, and he fell over. He kicked the goal, he scored it, but then he burst into tears, and it was and anyway, stormed off to his room, and I went in there and apologized because I realized that that wasn't a good example. And he started yelling at me, and then he goes, I I respect you as a parent, but I don't respect you as a soccer player. I was like, brilliant. It was absolute gold. But
Fair enough.
I'm teaching bad habits. So it was
That's amazing.
Not my best parenting moment, but yeah, I'm not too fussed. He doesn't respect me as a soccer player. I was never a very good soccer player.
Excellent. That's great. That's great honesty from your boy. I love it. Hey, that's awesome work, fellas. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, Sam. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the jacket as well. I appreciate it.
No worries, man. Looking sharp. Mully, Sammy, thank you so much. Also to everyone else, all the members that tuned in and flicked the questions through. It's always good catching up with Sammy. So, Mully, appreciate your guys' time.
Awesome. Go well. Thanks, fellas. See you later.
Awesome, guys. Cheers. Have a good one.